For the first time, I'm going to sit down and tell you all about the real-life predator catch that I did back in April. So it all started when I decided that I wanted to do a real-life predator catch. The justice system is nothing short of I know just how many predators are kicking about our streets. And that's what inspired me to do one local to me in the city of Glasgow. So I downloaded an app that everyone knows is filled to the brim with predators, an app called Meet Me. So I set up a profile using some edited pictures of myself. Of course, you have to set the minimum age as 18, but I made sure to open the conversation by letting people know that I was actually 15 years old. And sure enough, without a lot of time passing, I started to get matches. So I opened up the app and I swiped until people started to match. I never made first contact with anyone and I let the potential predators do that for me. And of course, you're going to have people who block you as soon as you tell them their age, and that is fantastic because realistically, if you match someone on a dating app and they tell you that they are under 18, yes, instant block, obviously. But sadly, there were far too many people who didn't get this memo. And one of them was a man with the username. He was verified on the app, so I knew that the person who I was talking to was the one actually featured in the photos, and his profile contained a few photos. His profile said that he was 41 years old from Glasgow. His bio read, "I'm 41 from Glasgow and single. If you don't have a picture of yourself or not in Scotland, please don't like my profile." So, Mia fit the bill, and so he matched her. But one of the most disturbing parts to me was that it said in his bio that he had children but they were not living with him. Even more so when he continued to talk to the girl even after knowing her age. So originally I had a profile, but it got banned because someone reported it for being underage. And so my initial few text messages with were lost. However, he seemed to be desperate as he matched me on the new account as well. And of course, I knew that I had to tell him the age again, because if I just continued the conversation without telling him the age, then that could potentially be a reason for a case being thrown out. So he said, "Hey," I said, "Lol, I got banned for being He said, "Somebody must have reported your profile, hen, and maybe only tell people your real age if you want to meet them in person." So that's clearly him showing intent that he is fine with it, acknowledging that the girl is and actually encouraging her to keep her age a secret and to lie to men unless they want to meet her in real life. And not only that, but he continued to give her advice, because I said, "Yeah, but I don't know if it's the best idea to meet people, haha," to which he said, "If you're going to meet somebody off this app, meet them somewhere public and with lots of cameras and set rules to what you will and won't do." I then asked him if he's actually met anyone off the app, potentially trying to see if he had meeting with anyone else underage, to which he said, "Only one lass, but I know her since we're teenagers." So thankfully, it doesn't appear as if this girl was underage, but I follow up and ask, are there many people my age on here, asking if there's any year-olds on the platform, to which he replies, "I doubt it, to be honest." Then he gets into a very interesting rant, which highlighted to me that this man knew exactly what he was doing. So to keep them on board, I try to be always apologetic, trying to make it seem like I don't want to upset them in the slightest. This usually gives them more trust in the decoy and allows me to continue the conversation. So I said, "Oh, I'm sorry," to which he said, "No, they're either at the wind-up or they're decoys." So he's acknowledging the existence of decoys and predator hunters out there who are there to stop pedophiles. So then obviously this year-old doesn't know what a decoy is, so I say, "What do you mean decoy?" And he continues to explain it, saying, "Decoys used by police or predator groups to catch adults who will do certain stuff with kids your age." So he knows that it is wrong. He is acknowledging that it is wrong to do things with people under the age of 18. So I ask if it's common on there, and he says, yes, unfortunately it is on every app. Then he breaks out with a bit of interesting discussion, because I say, is that like people's jobs? And then he replies, for the police it is, but the predator hunter groups are doing it illegally and hurting children in the long run. So he then gives a reason for his hatred and says that 2 girls were killed in England because 2 groups used their pictures. And of course, that's not something I advocate for. You should never use pictures of real minors when doing this, and never use anyone's pictures without their consent. So then he says it's really scary for young girls nowadays, and I am inclined to agree with Thomas. And you know why? Because pedophiles are out there. So I say people just don't like me, and he replies, I don't understand how people could dislike you. If you were 18, I'd happily have a pint or 2 with you. To which I say, oh thanks, that's sweet. And he immediately starts asking when the girl turns 16, which is the legal age of consent in this country. He says, I'm just being honest, if you don't mind me asking, when do you turn 16? And I say, oh sorry, I thought I said December. Now keep in mind I did this catch all the way back in April, and I mean even if we go by the time frames now, this girl still wouldn't be 16. So that's a long period of time, but still he hits with the not that far away, has your mum or dad got a sweet 16 plan for you? So I say not that I know of, and he says hopefully they will have, and if we're still talking then I'll get you a card and a silly little gift. And then the text just get worse, because if it isn't bad enough that a 40-year-old man is offering to send a newly turned 16-year-old a gift, he says, you're more than welcome. I'm still shocked you've never dated anyone. As I said, you're a beautiful girl inside and out, and if I was 15, I'd have asked you out. And he continues to kind of ask me a lot of deep questions by saying, what you up to? Not that, that's not the deep part, but he follows it up by saying, do you stay near Ibrox Stadium? Ibrox Stadium is a home of Rangers FC in the city of Glasgow, and it's kind of over the water outside of the city centre. So I hit back with a different area of the city. I stay near Shawlands, and he says my mum used to stay at the flats at the library in Shawlands. So I also say that I was watching Netflix, and he then asks about adolescence, and we have a bit of a discussion about that. It only lasts 2 messages from my end before he asks, be careful who you send pictures to and what type of pictures on here. I say I will, don't worry, to which he says there are a lot of scammers who will ask you for some kind of naked picture or trick you into video sex chat. How quickly things can go from, maybe seeming a bit normal completely back to the sexual chat is really disturbing. So I say, oh, that's scary, to which he replies, yeah, I had a lass try to con 600 quid to not send a penis picture she thought was mine to my contacts. So after that, he says, I don't send pictures like that unless I know the girl or have video chatted with them and I know who I'm talking to. So that was, again, an immediate thing to me. I knew that I wasn't going to get dick pics from this guy, for better or for worse, and I knew that I had to gain his trust. Of course, I give them every reason to leave. I give them all the exit opportunities. Even if they did take that, they would still be reported to the police. Everything gets reported to the police. But I always give them that opportunity. I am not enticing them to continue the conversation in any way, and I'm not entrapping them. They do this off their own free will, and I think that's something that everyone needs to understand. So then he decides to ask this 15-year-old girl if she has ever sent those kind of pictures, to which she says, only once or twice. Then he replies, what would you say if I asked? I mean, if someone wanted me to and I trusted them, then maybe. So if I asked, you'd say yes. Well, if you wanted. So after that disturbing exchange, he again doubles down, saying, honestly, if you were 16 and wanted to, I'd happily ask for that kind of pic. Now, let's just be very, very clear here. Even though the age of consent in this country is 16, you still need to be over the age of 18 to send that type of content. Otherwise, it is officially classified as, you guessed it, child, or as I prefer to call it, child material, or CSAM. So this man has shown a clear intent to not only get CSAM from this girl, but he's already indicated through all of these texts and through more stuff you'll see later that he wants to do this stuff when she turns 16 in December. And there's a word for that. It's grooming. So then things take a turn, because we're talking about his dead siblings. Yes, his dead siblings. And he hits me with, P.S. in a few weeks, if I message you anything dirty, ignore me. I'll be drunk. As if that's an excuse for potentially sending a year old a dirty message? So I say, oh ha ha ha, that's okay. And he says, I'm a happy horny drunk and don't have a filter. Wow. Okay. Now I don't think I need to tell you, but it's not an excuse legally or morally to send dirty texts to a year old, no matter if you're drunk or not. You shouldn't be doing that. Wow, shocker. I shouldn't have to tell you that, and I'm sure I don't have to tell you guys that. But believe it or not, things get worse, because we have a brief conversation about football, specifically Celtic and Rangers, where he reveals that he's a Celtic fan, and he says, it wouldn't bother me if you supported Rangers and were dating, as I'd do a bet before each game, so we both would be happy afterwards. I thought this was a bit strange, but I decided to move on. So I say I don't support either, and he says, shame, you would have liked the deal. So I obviously say that would imply that we're dating, to which he says, you never know what can happen after you turn 16. So you know what we said previously about how we would meet up with a year old, someone younger than two of his children? Well, he wouldn't only meet up with them, but he would be willing to date them. So I say, haha, that's a while off. To which he says, before you know, it'll be December. So I say, I hope so. And he says, since you live in Shawlands and I live in Govan, we'll probably end up bumping into each other sometime. So after this disturbing comment about seeing each other, I say, I'll recognise you and you'll recognise me, hopefully. And he says, hopefully I will. To which I say, hee hee. Dead response again, I know, but wait for this, because he replies, you'll probably follow me home to seduce me. He brings the conversation right back to the disturbing stuff, immediately jumping in after a little exchange by saying, you do know for a female the first time can be painful. Now, as you can see, I never guided the conversation in this direction. This was all him. He wanted to talk about this, and it was clearly playing on his mind. So then he bigs himself up by saying, if you were serious about waiting for me, then you'll have someone who'll take care of you and be gentle. So then he asks the decoy if she has WhatsApp, to which she says no, and he says, shame, we could have talked on there, it's safer. Yeah. Wow. Safe for what, huh? So then I ask if he has Discord, and he says, no, there's too many hackers and scammers. He says, you're better getting WhatsApp, it's really safe and encrypted. He clearly wants these messages to be encrypted for a reason. So then he says that another reason is because the pictures can be set to view once, so he can't save it or screenshot it. And I wonder what picture he's indicating there. What's a picture that he wouldn't like to save or screenshot? He's clearly talking about explicit photos there, and he's basically implying that if the girl had WhatsApp, then she could send them to him. So after ending off the previous conversation, I'm obviously not active for a lot of the next day because the girl would have been at school. So he asked what my plans are for tonight, and I said I'm just gonna go home, basically. So then when I say that school was hard and I was very tired, he says, you deserve a big hug for trying, beautiful. Then he asks, have you ever been to the Froggy Park near the BBC studios? It's officially called the Festival Park, and it's just down from the studios if you're walking towards Govan Town Hall. So he says, I was thinking earlier about walking over the new bridge into the Transport Museum. And I say, oh nice, I like the Transport Museum, because I am in fact autistic and I do love the Transport Museum. But he decides to take it a different way and says, is that a hint that you want to come visit? So I say, that makes it sound like you want me to which he replies, told you that if things were different, I'd have offered you down last night. So that's him directly saying now that he would have invited this year-old to his flat. So then he goes on a rant about trying to get this girl to admit that she has feelings for him. And I literally completely change the topic. I just go, it's such nice weather today. And he replies, bet you look cute in this sunlight. It always comes back to how beautiful this girl looks in his eyes. It can never just be a normal conversation. He is literally trying to groom her. So then I literally ask about his food shopping and he changes it again. I bet if I seen you right now, I'd say you're pretty. So then he tells me about a pub. Don't know why a year-old needs to know about a pub, but he says that he can see it from his window, and I say, oh, I thought you might have recognized me. I've walked past there before. And he says, no, I think I would have remembered you. Would have remembered such a pretty face. So he tells me about his plans and says that he's chilling in bed playing Resi 4 and watching Ghost Adventures. So he said, I say, nice, I like that show, because I do, I think it's a good show. And he says, if things go the way we plan, then we can eventually chill and watch it together. Sounds like a good night. So he then says, take it that you didn't want to send a picture because you have a uniform on. And I say, yeah, I'm sorry. To which he says, I promise on my kid's life. Hold on, before we even continue, can we just... His kid's life. He just promised on his kid's life to a 15-year-old. Okay. Whew. I promised on my kid's life I'd never go near your school, and if I knew what one it was, I'd make sure to completely go around it. So I say, I was just saying that I don't like my uniform, and he says, it's not your uniform that I'd be looking at. To which I say, what do you mean? And he says, it would be your face I'd more focus on. So I just say, oh, that's sweet, and he says, plus, if I said, do you want to meet at Govan subway station ASAP, I'd have seen you in it. Subtle foreshadowing. Were you gonna say that? Do you want me to say that? I was just wondering, lol. So that's a massive yes from you then, lol. If that's what you want, haha. You won't get in trouble for admitting how you feel, and you wouldn't cause me any trouble. That's good, because I never want to cause you trouble. You can always be totally honest with me and open about how you're feeling. You can be honest with me as well. I like to think I'm trustworthy. I'm just careful in what I say to any female until I've met them in person or video called with them. So yeah, again, that's kind of him indicating that he would never meet this decoy unless he had proof that she was real. And I did already picture verify on the chat, so I think he definitely had some sort of level of trust. But I knew that to get there, we would need a phone call. More subtle foreshadowing. So then he literally starts to narrow down the school this girl goes to. He asks if she goes to a specific secondary school, and I say no. And he says that thank God there were a group of guys taking pictures of girls at the school. And that only leaves 2 schools that you could go to. He's narrowed it down from 3 to 2. So then he follows it up by saying, are you scared that if you sent a picture of yourself, you'd get in trouble? And I say, what kind of pics do you mean? So he says, any kind of picture. And I say, oh, yeah, kinda. So then he follows it up by saying, if it's a normal picture, you wouldn't get in trouble. But if it's of your boobs, etc., and if I asked for it, then I'd be the one who'd be in trouble if somebody found out. So then he says, if you sent those kind of pictures without me asking, I wouldn't. We can all see what he's trying to do here. He's clearly trying to get in this girl's head. That's what he's been trying to do for this whole conversation, with taking her words out of context, trying to say that she wants to sleep with him, now trying to say that she won't get in trouble if she sends him pictures without him asking. That's clearly trying to get in her head, because he knows that young girls are easily manipulated. How many times last night did you nearly send a picture of yourself but got scared? And I say, you never asked. I wasn't really thinking about that. And he says, bet you were last and today to see if I was being serious and honest of what I told you. What were you being serious about? That I thought you were beautiful and I'd have offered you down last night, etc. Oh, that's sweet. Most women would send a picture as a test to the person to see his reaction. Oh, is that what you want from me? I only asked if you wanted to, and how many times last night. I don't want you to feel pressured into anything, and it has to be your choice what you do. Again, more manipulation, more trying to say that this girl wanted to send him a picture even though he's got no proof of that. So then he says, you know there's nothing wrong with you wanting that or asking, especially as I think you're developing feelings for me. This is exactly what I mean when I say manipulation. He's outright saying that this girl has feelings for him, even though she's never shown that. And by the way, that message came after he said, are you hoping I say come to mine? But it gets worse, because this is what we say after. Hey, at least you asked if I was trying to trick you into asking. Lol, I just thought maybe. And with you not answering my question about you developing feelings for me said a lot. More like you were really hoping I was so you could run to the subway station. Lol, haha, I'm not a good runner. Bet you would have been tonight though. Haha, maybe. Is that maybe to the feelings or running? Both, I guess. I think it's a definitely yes to both. Is it weird for you I can tell you have feelings for me? No, not really. Is it weird for you? To be honest, no it's not, and I'm flattered that you have feelings for me and have so much trust in me. Yeah. I'll admit, though it can get me in trouble, there's been a few times I've almost asked to meet up or for pictures of you. Oh really? Would you like that then? Yeah, being totally honest. To be honest, I'd be too worried to meet up or ask for a picture. Really? How come? because I could get in serious trouble if anybody found out, and while I don't think you'd tell someone, it's better to wait. This was surprisingly a very careful man. Even though it ended the way it did, he was very careful with how he went about it. He knew that just by talking to her, he realistically couldn't get into trouble, and if he did, it wouldn't be prosecuted, but he got too comfortable believing that this girl was real. So then he speaks more about meeting up. He says, I think if we meet up in public, it should be okay, but till December, I couldn't invite you to meet. And I say, yeah, I get that. What would you want to do if we do meet? Could we go for a walk or a coffee or something, and would mean there's no temptation? Yeah, definitely. Would you want to wait till December for that too? Or are you meaning December for waiting for a meeting in public, or are you coming to my house? I meant public, but both, I guess. The meeting in public could happen before December, but coming to mine best waiting till the day after your birthday, so if we're tempted, we can do something. So this is literally confirming now that he is willing to have sex with a year-old, which is over the age of consent, but is technically still a minor. And he's always going on about this temptation. That's what's going on in his head, because at no point has a girl implied that she has temptation. And then just to confirm that, because I know his messages haven't outright said it, he decided to make it easy for us, because he did outright say it. He said, you can be honest and say that you feel that way. As I said, if you were I'd have invited you down today, and we probably would have had sex quickly. So then he decides to tell this girl about masturbation. And he says, masturbation is perfectly normal. And I said, I don't know how to do that. And he says, you should. Get to know how you like to be touched down there, so you could tell any partner what you like and don't like. So this part made me burst out laughing at the time. And look, I'm going to tell you, prepare yourself, because this part is undoubtedly hilarious. He says, there's two different ways to do it. Have you ever played Red Dead Redemption 2 in the PS4? See when you have to move the rubber bits on a PS4 controller? Do that to your is the first way, and second is rubbing. I think that's the first time in the history of the world that I have seen be compared to playing Red Dead Redemption 2 on a PlayStation 4 controller. So then he makes his first mistake, and the thing that ultimately led to his downfall, thankfully, because I say that I'm going to go for a walk on Friday. And he says, if it's a good day on Friday, we could go for a walk. And I say, would you want to do that? And he says, yeah, if you're up for it. So I say that I want to get in bed, and he says, bet you'd rather be in my bed. And I say, would you like me in your bed? To which he says, not what I asked, and you should already know the answer. So I say, oh, I'm sorry, sounds like I upset you. And he says, no, don't be silly. And as I said, you can answer honestly how you feel. It's like you're embarrassed to say yes. And I say, I'm sorry, I just get really nervous. With me, you'll do a lot of things you haven't done, and it will help you grow out of your shell. So I literally ask him if he's sure he wants to meet, and I go, well, what I've just said. Are you sure you want to meet? And he says, where do you want to meet and go for a walk? And I said, where works for you? And he says, need to be somewhere between our houses and Copeland Road. And I ask where that is, and he says, get the subway to Ibrox, and that's Copeland Road. So I say that we could go on the Clyde Walk, which is basically the walkway next to the River Clyde. And he says, yeah, if it made you feel at ease. And cause it doesn't get dark till after your curfew, we can't get tempted. And then I immediately double on this and say, do you think that you would get tempted if it was dark? And he says, to this road, I know several spots on that walkway to have naughty fun. And he follows up by saying the classic thing you hear, I know I would depending on what you'd wear. And just a bit of a viewer warning for this next part, because this is probably the most disturbing part of the conversation. But he says, I panicked years ago when my cousin's niece got stuck in Govan one night when she was and had to stay at mine. I replied, oh no, why did you panic? In case somebody seen her coming into mine and thought I was having with her, and she had a rep for sleeping with older guys. Oh, you would never do anything like that with her though, right? I'm scared she'd try something or claim I tried something. She was a beautiful girl, but she was only and she did offer. Oh, she offered? Not that night, but a few weeks later. What did you think at the time? Luckily, I've not heard from her in years. And I say, how come you don't talk to her? And he just says, are you a little jealous she had that chance? Honestly, don't remember why she stopped talking to me, to be honest. Okay, so this man has just admitted that his year-old niece allegedly, and I say big allegedly because I don't believe this for a second, apparently asked to sleep with him. I think the more likely conclusion is that he was, as he would put it, tempted by her, because he's already clearly tempted by this year-old. So what would the difference be? Honestly, it's incredibly disturbing that a year-old has been allowed to stay in a house with this man alone because he is willing to meet up with someone who is just a year older than her with intention to have sex. And I'm sorry, but if you're a normal person, you don't get scared or worried that people are gonna think you're having sex with your niece. And asking this girl if she's jealous that his niece had the chance to ask that to him, that is just up. So then we sign off for the night and he ends it with, "Good girl, and try not to have naughty dreams about me, lol." So it's the next day now, and I'm not going to go over all these texts, but he basically says that he would be worried about temptation. He asks if the girl would be worried about temptation, and he says, "I'm human and male, of course I'd be tempted." So then we lock in the place. We would be meeting at Ibrox subway station on Friday. So he then asked if I tried that thing last night, and when I asked him to elaborate, he confirms that he's speaking about mass. I say, "I haven't, lol, did you want me to?" To which he replies, "If I said yes, what would you say?" "I wouldn't mind. Would you do it though?" I probs would. Is that because I'd have asked you to do it or because you want to try it?" "I don't know, both I guess. Let me know how you found it when you try hen." This man is asking a year-old to update him when she tries mass. But it gets worse because he is about to say the worst thing he said in this entire conversation. He says, "Have you tried it yet?" I say, "Tried what?" He says, "The thing we talked about yesterday and today." I say, "Oh, like touching down there?" He says, "Yeah." I say, "I haven't, I'm just in bed right now." He says, "Are you going to try it now?" To which I say, "Should I?" And he says, "Why not try it? At least you'll know where you prefer to be touched." So I say, "Yeah, I don't know how to." And he says, "Are you trying now? Shame you don't like video calling, could have talked you through it." This adult would be happy to get on a video call with a year-old and walk her through. But he decides to walk her through by text. He says, "Start by finding your." I say, "Okay, I don't know what I'm looking for." And he actually asks again. He says, "Do you want to video call and I'll direct you?" And then he says, "You missed a trick," which basically means you missed out on the chance of something, right? And I say, "How come?" And he says, "You want me to see you naked and you had the perfect excuse." He just can't stop the manipulation. He really can. And in the morning, he actually apologizes for it because he says, "Want to apologize for our conversation last night before you went to bed. I was out of order and shouldn't have brought it up. Good girl, and hope you didn't think I was trying to pressure you last night into something you didn't want to do." Thankfully, one of my friends decided to do me a massive favor and decided that they would hop on voice call with this man to make him feel more at ease about our meet, which was scheduled to happen tomorrow. This is a phone call.
So, but well, it's going to one.
No, not at all. I hated it. I wanted to go home.
It's probably just because you're getting itchy feet because the Easter holidays start tomorrow.
So they do. I can't wait.
I can't think me. I think I need to cancel going to the town next Friday. Now it says I was going to go in when I get paid.
Yeah. Why do you need to cancel?
No, I'm not talking about tomorrow, I'm talking about now. I says I was going into the town next week when I get paid. I might need to know because I've got to pay my internet bill and I've got to pay 150 quid to get a new passport.
That's a lot of money.
I know, especially because some junkie stole out my house. Know what I mean?
No.
Stole my passport and my provisional. I thought I was doing
Why
a new
would
thing
you-
for them. So they can use it to get credit and all that. It's simple enough to put now with somebody else's photo and tap yours, especially the passport. And then you can get credit out in your name.
Really?
It's not in. Aye. My wee cousin used to use my passport to go to the dancing. And if you don't know what dancing is, just say and I'll explain it. You ever heard the sub club or the cat house?
I don't think so.
You're usually doing about KFC and the tune, aren't you?
Yeah.
Right, well, you're seeing sub club and you're seeing cat house. Cat house is, if you're standing at the KFC, it's to your right. It's basically right across the CEX. And the sub club's just down to the McDonald's. But it's nightclubs, but everybody calls it the dancing.
Why is it called the dancing?
Well, what do you do in a nightclub?
Oh, yeah.
You dance and make out with people, so you're dancing.
I don't know this kind of thing. I'm only...
You're all damage in our chaos. You can have all sorts of ashes and beans stuff. Who do you think I know so many places in the town to go hide to do stuff?
Yeah, but my mum would kill me, so I don't do that kind of stuff.
Your mum wouldn't know.
After the phone call, he said, "Are you glad you done it now?" I say, "Yeah, thank you. Just want to ease your nerves and anxiety as much as possible before tomorrow." So he says, "Can't wait to meet you in person, have a laugh. Yeah, it'll be fun. What are you wanting to do tomorrow? Just walk and chill? Are you hoping for more? I don't mind. Yes or no?" "I don't know. I'm sorry." "You do know. You're just embarrassed to say or scared I'll cancel." "I'm a bit scared you'll cancel." "I'm not going to cancel. And as I said, if anything happens before December, it's on me, not you. So please stop worrying. What you're feeling right now is perfectly normal." Okay, thank you. You put my mind at ease." So he says, "How was school? What did you decide to wear?" I said it was alright. And then I sent him an old picture of me in just some random outfit. So then he confirmed that he is leaving to head to the subway. And at this point, me and my friend Jesse were already en route to the location. So he says, "It's a 10 to 20 minute walk, but got to drop a memory stick at my mate's." And this was interesting because I don't know if he was actually doing this or not, because me and Jesse got to the location 20 minutes before he was scheduled to be there, and he sent a picture of one of the signs. This is a clip. Okay, he just sent us a picture. We've been in this area, and he sent a picture of the subway table at Ibrox, which is literally around the corner from where we're standing. So he was there. He was in the same vicinity as us, and we didn't realise, and he didn't realise us. But part of me is also disturbed by the possibility that he was actually going to drop off a memory stick at his mate's, because if you're meeting a year-old, what the hell could be on that memory stick? I really hope that's something the police investigated, but I've got no word on that. So then around the time he was scheduled to be here, he said, "I'm close, I'll see you." And sure enough, we saw him. He sent a picture of the subway table at Ibrox, which is literally around the corner from where we're standing. In the recording now. We saw him coming round the corner, and at this point we had been on the phone to 111, the non-emergency number, for approximately 15 minutes at this point, with still no response. So we concluded that the child predator was now here, and this was very much now an emergency situation. And that's when we decided to ring 999 and get some officers on the scene. Hello, sorry, are you... Right, okay, just to firstly clarify, the police are on their way. Sir, I would recommend, it's probably in your best interest to speak to us. If you want to leave, you can leave, but like I say, the police are on the way. Yes, I know that this confrontation wasn't what you were expecting, and look, To be honest, I wish we had followed him, looking back. I really wish we had followed him. But we didn't, because we wanted to do everything by the letter of the law. We didn't want to get done for harassment or anything like that, and we thought it would be best to wait until the police were on the scene. Admittedly, we expected them to get there quicker. 3 police vans out looking for this man right now. He came to meet this 15-year-old. He did run, but you can run, but you can't hide. Police have his street address. They know where he last went when he fled, and there's currently 3 vans with multiple officers out there looking for him right now. So let's hope he gets caught. Oh, yeah, go for it. He said before he was coming to meet this girl that he was going to a friend's house to drop a USB drive, and when he came to meet the girl, he came from that direction. Right, so this is the street that he last went down. I just spoke to some officers there, and they are looking for him. They've got 3 vans, like I said, out looking for him. When he came down this street, he took a left turn here onto Brighton Place, and this is where we lost sight of him. So there's a few options to where he's go on here, so we're going to have a look and see what his options would have been. A police van just went by right now. They phoned me to confirm his street. They're going there now. Okay, I'm very happy to say that I just got off the phone with the police and they have now caught this man. If I was ever to do this again in the future, I would definitely ask my camera person to stay further away so I could approach him, because I understand that that might have been one of the reasons why he was scared off. Also, that this one had a specific hatred for decoys and predator hunter groups. So yes, there is a lot that I would change on a me side of things, but all the evidence, according to every officer who I've spoken to so far, is great. We have done nothing bad. We did nothing to up this investigation. And realistically, that's all that matters. This is now an active police investigation, and it should hopefully be going to court soon. But what disturbs me is that I did some research and I found out that this man is still on the app Meet Me, where he used to meet this 15-year-old. So for all we know, there are many other minors out there that he is talking to. And to be honest, I believe that this guy is a danger to society. I don't think he should be allowed to walk free, and I really hope he isn't. And he now clearly has access to his phone because he has also posted on his personal Facebook page. I really hope that the police did an analysis or whatever of his phone to, clearly see that he did send these messages and that he is what he's accused of. Of course, when this case does go to court, I'll give you a full update video just like this. But for now, that was the story of how I caught a Glasgow predator.